Okay, so this is something fun and maybe different. I wanted to get on the video, and I'm not cooking anything today. I just want to answer some questions because, hi, I'm Anna Vicino. Welcome to Eat Happy Kitchen. Most of you guys know who I am or else you wouldn't be watching. I want to answer questions because I get a lot of questions that become frequently asked questions. And I know I've answered so many cooking questions on the podcast that I do with Vinny, Fitness Confidential. I'll link that below. But I also just get them, especially on Instagram, because I put a lot of content on Instagram, Twitter questions, all the stuff. So I just wanted to jump in and answer some frequently asked questions. I'm going to use this as a SUBSTACK post, and then I'm going to cut it up and put it as like different reels on on Instagram. So hopefully if you've asked these questions or if you've wondered these questions, I'm going to have some answers for you. We're going to cover salt and sodium. We're going to cover the difference between coconut nectar and coconut sugar. The answer may surprise you. That's my favorite question. We're going to cover if you can use pasta sauce on pasta, food sensitivity to almonds, California olive oil, and Instant Pot NSNG cooking. That's a lot of things. We're already like quite some time in here. So let's do this. Number one, I got to put on the glasses for this one. And thanks for writing me questions, you guys. I used to feel like I needed to write everybody back right away because that's just the thing that I have. And it's impossible for me to do that. So I've been collecting them and I printed them on a thing. And I just want to read from Sherry said, just FYI, this is Sherry, just FYI, these sauces have too much sodium in them. I cannot have salt, limited anyway. Maybe you can make some sauces without a lot of salt. She put a little smiley face to brace her thing. I did write her back, and I'm just going to go ahead and read my answer, and then I'm going to expound upon it. For those of you guys who've been around a lot, you know that generally when you go low carb, salt becomes less of an issue. In fact, you need to take in salt when you lose your inflammation because you'll release some electrolytes along with digesting this new way of eating. So you'll want to take in more salt. So we're not afraid of salt anymore. But I understand people who are new to this work might be afraid of the salt. So I wrote this back. Sherry, thanks so much for reaching out. I do appreciate you guys reaching out. We only use Redmond real salt in our sauce formulas, which is the highest quality salt out there and mined in the US. I would never allow crappy sodium chemicals in my sauces. That's the truth. I said, check out a book called The Salt Fix by Di Nicolantonio. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. It is an Italian guy, and I can't even say his name right, but I'm going to link to that below as well. Once you cut out carbs, your body will lose electrolytes along with the inflammation and excess water weight. And at that point, salt will help your symptoms. Lots more about that in the NSNG Facebook group as well. This is one of those things that often changes for people when they cut out sugars and grains for the better. And it means people can actually enjoy real salt again. If all else fails, you can make the recipe for my marinara from my first cookbook. It's also at my site. Just make it without any added salt. Hope this helps. Have a great weekend. Plus, I'll put a link that Susie DeMeester sent to the Diet Doctor. It's a low-carb salt guide, which is super helpful. Now, I am not a scientist. I know food, and I know food really well. I do understand some of the typical things that people go through, and I do understand the food paradigms that we're all kind of peeling back as we learn what it means to cut out processed sugars and grains. And salt is a big fear that people have. And maybe they've been told by their doctor not to have the salt. Don't go against what your doctor says. Ask your doctor, talk to your doctor, read these links, do your research. I have no plans to make any sauces or spices without any salt. I'm a huge salt proponent. I love salt. I think it gives flavor, and I want my things salted so that you don't have to add any extra salt to them. So no, there are no plans to make any salt-free or lower salt products. However, eventually we'll probably make one without garlic just to have that because I know that garlic is an allergy for some people. So just want to answer that. Please go to the links below if you have questions or if people ask you those questions. But when you come at me with the sciencey questions and the sodium, I don't know why, she didn't give me context. Are you on the high blood pressure meds? What did your doctor tell you? I couldn't answer those anyway because I'm not a doctor. I'm the lady that you go to when you want to learn how to cook low carb. You learned the low carb stuff. Now you want to know what to cook. That's what I'm here for. The only thing I'm qualified to do is to leave an outgoing voice message on your iPhone or make a low carb pizza. Those are my qualifications at life. Okay, Laura Lee asks, hi, Anna. I just downloaded both of your cookbooks, and I enjoy listening to you and Vinny on the podcast. By the way, you can download the cookbooks. EatHappyKitchen.com is the least expensive way to get a PDF of the cookbook if money is tight, because Amazon has jacked up the prices of hardcover books, and now they're basically at the full retail price, which is kind of a bummer. Bummer for me, because I don't get those sales. That's why I put the PDF available. I don't care about Amazon numbers anymore. I don't give a shit if we go up or down. Go get the PDF for $8.99 at EatHappyKitchen.com. Laura Lee, I am gearing up for my Thanksgiving dinner, and I have a question. What is the difference between coconut nectar and coconut sugar? And can they be used interchangeably? I'm trying to decide between the pumpkin cheesecake and the pumpkin bars, and I don't want to buy a bunch of expensive sweetener that will only go bad between this Thanksgiving and next. Thoughts? They are interchangeable. Sugar is sugar is sugar. You can use coconut sugar, you can use coconut nectar, you can use cane sugar, you can use honey, maple syrup, date syrup. Those are kind of the typical things that I use in a sweet treat. Lest you be worried that you're going to have a sweetener go bad, I actually just did a demo on Instagram of the pumpkin bars, and I had not made those pumpkin bars nor used coconut sugar since I made it exactly last year in 2021, right around the same time. And so I took my sweetener out of and I knew I was low in it, so I bought another sweetener, coconut sugar. I took that coconut sugar out, and sure enough, it had expired in 2021. And I still used it anyway. I'm not telling you to eat expired food, but I don't think the sweeteners are going bad as much as we think they might. However, buy the smallest thing possible if you're really not using it. It is kind of fun to not have to spend all that money on baked ingredients anymore, bakery ingredients. So coconut sugar, coconut nectar can be used interchangeably. Obviously, coconut sugar is drier than coconut nectar or honey. So you may need to add a little bit more, or you may need to thicken it with a little bit of liquid, maybe add some additional oil. You can add a little applesauce or something like that if you feel like things are turning up too dry. But if you use coconut sugar in the pumpkin cheesecake or the pumpkin bars, it's going to absolutely be the equivalent of using coconut nectar in either of those. So just want to throw that out there. Next, Lee asks, and Lee's probably watching this. So Lee, I've already talked to you. Lee asks, can I use the marinara on spaghetti? He was wanting to find some spaghetti options for his kids. And to which I say, I'm going to pat myself on the back for having an audience that is so low carb, you forget that a pasta sauce can indeed be used on pasta. Yes, that's what these were originally designed for. I just love my tomato sauces. I put them, as you know, if you have the Marinara Meals PDF or you see any of my Italian recipes, I've always made my marinara from scratch. Now I have them in the jars. This is the arrabbiata spicy, which we're going to be making again soon. And but the truth be told, most humans out there in the world who find our beautiful selection of sauces at stores are there to put them on pasta. They're making a pasta night. So don't forget, folks, please recommend the sauces to your friends who eat pasta. Julie asks, and I like this question a whole bunch. This video already is super long, but we're going to get there. Julie asks, I have a food sensitivity to almonds. Is there another flour I can use instead? I love your cookbooks. Just got them both. I'm excited to use them. Mwah! Julie, thank you for your support. I appreciate that. And I believe Julie, if I remember her name came through, she got the 2 PDFs. Best deal on the internet, you guys. Okay, if you have a food sensitivity to almonds, the first book, Eat Happy, has a lot of stuff with almond flour. And in fact, the cauliflower crust recipe in Eat Happy was, I invented that recipe because a mom came to me and said their kid had a tree nut allergy and couldn't have tree nuts. So that's how the cauliflower crust recipe came to be. In Eat Happy too, there's a pork rind crust recipe for pizza. Now I'm talking about pizza crusts. You can use those recipes for all sorts of applications. Like I use it you can do like a pigs in a blanket. You can do a bagel round, which is in the second book. You can do, what's it called? Oh, I just did one the other day. Oh, I turned a thing into like enchilada things on the enchiladas. What are they called? Tortillas. So there's all sorts of applications that you can use those things. I even made for my new cookbook like a little like muffin cup, and then you put the eggs Benedict in it. So There's all sorts of things you can do, and you don't have to use almond flour. You can sub in pork rinds, crushed up, make sure that they don't have any chemicals or weird oils. You can sub in flax meal. You can sub in a mixture of pork rinds, flax meal, Parmesan. I'm assuming you can tolerate dairy, because some people can't tolerate any of that stuff, in which case you might not be able to eat that stuff. But look for ways that you can sub in stuff for the almond flour. Now, as far as coating the outside of things, because sometimes you use almond flour to coat the chicken, like in the chicken parm. Again, you can use pork rinds, you can use flax meal, you can use Parmesan, you can use any sort of, if you can tolerate other tree nuts, you can use that. Obviously, we're trying to avoid flour, regular flour. We're trying to avoid rice flour, potato starch, corn starch, and those things. So I wouldn't use that unless you absolutely can't tolerate anything else. Because sometimes people want to go low carb, but they have to really cut stuff out. So it all depends on where you are with your food allergies. But there's different applications for almond flour. It's either put into things to bake, in which case sometimes it's a little hard to substitute, but you can do it with the pizza crust for sure. Or you put it on the outside of stuff, or you can omit it altogether. The meatloaf recipes, the meatball recipes, you can omit it altogether, add an extra egg, and you've got still delicious meatloaf and delicious. It just adds, like another filler that helps fill out the meal. But it's not a binder like bread is. We're using almond flour in place of bread in things like meatloaf and meatballs, but it's not a binder because almond flour can't bind jack squat. It's not a binder. So just something to keep in mind. You can omit it altogether. You can add extra Parmesan cheese. That'll help it. So just throwing that out there. Okay, the last thing I'm going to say, California olive oil. Maddie says, what California olive oil do you recommend? I don't have one. And it's not just because Villa Capelli is the sponsor of the podcast that I do with Vinny, and that they just make the best olive oil, and I always use it, like always use it. There's going to come a point where we grow the pasta sauce company, and we also are launching dressings where we're not going to be able to use Villa Capelli just because simply they don't produce enough to be able to do it, and that will be a very sad day for me personally. But I don't have a California olive oil. Look up the UC Davis, it's UC Davis olive oil study. Google UC Davis olive oil study, and it will come up. Different brands that actually have olive oil in them, because you can't trust most store-bought brands. Ala writes, she wrote a couple of things. I've listened for years, I've purchased the books, and I joined Substack today. Thank you, Ala. With the weather changing, please, more slow cooker recipes. I am single and work from home, and the cats and I love smelling the all-day cooking. Me too. And then she wrote again a couple days later, what do you recommend for Instant Pot NSNG cooking? I have your first cookbook. Well, which is it, Ala? Do you have the first cookbook, or do you have both books? I'm just kidding. I'm just giving Ala a hard time. So here's the deal. I published the first cookbook in 2016. The Instant Pot really hit a stride at the end of 2016, beginning of 2017. It swept the nation. So in my second cookbook, I have a ton of Instant Pot specific recipes, including the chicken paprikash, which is also on my website. That's amazing. Pho, whole chicken. What else? I wrote it down. Red curry short ribs. I think that also might be on my site. There are also regular short ribs from the first book that are on my site that I've adapted for the Instant Pot. Here's the thing. An Instant Pot recipe and a slow cooker recipe can be used interchangeably. It's very easy to Google 3-pound roast Instant Pot slow cooker conversion, and you will find out that you should just make your 3-pound roast on a 35-minute manual setting on the Instant Pot. It's very easy to figure that out. I tried to, from this point forward, give both slow cooker and Instant Pot, because it never fails that if I just say slow cooker, someone's going to ask, can you make it in the Instant Pot? In fact, it just happened with the Stuteneska I posted last week. And I put it in the thing. It's in the body of the notes of the recipe. So carnitas, hot beef, that's the roast beef, the tri-tip roast beef, and pulled pork in particular. Those three can definitely be made in the Instant Pot. Those are in the first book. And plus, I have on my Substack, I had to write this down to make sure I didn't forget. Stuteneska last week, beef enchiladas verdes, chicken taco soup, the pot roast. It's called Not Just Another Pot Roast, which is now my new favorite pot roast recipe I've ever written. I've written so many pot roast recipes. That's the best one. Oh yeah, the pork rillettes in the second book too are amazing. So I just want to throw that out there. So anytime you see Instant Pot or slow cooker, they are interchangeable. So don't feel intimidated. We're done. Don't feel intimidated like you can't use one device or the other. And frankly, I use my Instant Pot every week because I take the bones and I make homemade broth with it no matter what. And some things I like better in a slow cooker, so I'll do it in that. But if I run out of time, I have no problem using that. Oh my God, I'm just burping. I'm just talking to you guys and just belching. Cool. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for being Substack subscribers. Thank you for being YouTube subscribers, wherever you guys catch this video. I know Megan's going to cut these questions down into smaller content, but we're already at 15 minutes, and I need to shut the F up and get on my way. I am Anna Vicino, Eat Happy Kitchen. Thank you for being here. I love you guys.